よし、ゲストハウス1階の戸締まりも完璧ですね。玄関もちゃんとチェーンロックで封じられています。
Before leaving the guest house, Erika did a check of the first floor, making sure that nothing was out of place. Then she found a flashlight and umbrella in the servant room next to the entrance.
では参りましょう。
まずは6人の死因くらいは確定しなくちゃ。
She unset the chain and locked the door and opened it. The freezing outside air poured in.
風はだいぶあるようです。
まあ、この体など私にとって肉の売り。濡れようが冷えようがどうでもいいことです。
Well, that's not wise, young lady. I mean, you will catch a cold. I mean, I would too if I had. And that's a third room's worth of duct tape. Worth it.
行きましょう。
When Annika dropped her gaze to open her umbrella, she noticed something lying at her feet. Hmm?
これはいつもの手紙です。
It was one of those letters sent by the witch, with a seal of the one-winged eagle on it. He had been wedged under the outside mat in front of the entrance, as though someone had predicted that Erika would eventually come this way while heading for the mansion. Due to the guest house's large eaves, the envelope had avoided the rain entirely.
早速来ましたね。まるで待ち受けていたかのように。
She bent over and picked it up. She then tore it open recklessly and pulled the letter inside of it. The message had been written in neat handwriting.
ようこそフルドエリカ様ですって。やれやれ、私を名指しでですか。完全に読まれてますね。
内容は何です？
犯行予告です。いや、事後報告と言うべきですね。後宮バトラの死体をお預かりしたそうです。どうぞ探してみてくださいとか言ってます。
第二の晩の寄り添い師2人を引き裂けではないのですか。
まあ、死体が消失する云々はベアとのゲームでも何度かありました。それほど親身のある話ではありません。
Erika shrugged and scorned the letter. However, this letter was a real attack. All the survivors were sealed in the rooms on the second floor. And after Kraus and the others had gone around checking doors and windows, Erika had personally made sure that there was nothing at the spot. So, this was an attack saying that someone who shouldn't exist had placed a letter, and that this someone was a witch. That was also an attack that the old battle had often used.
やれやれ。見せ方も同じならトリックまで同じだって言うんじゃないでしょうね。ドラノール、バトラを呼び出してください。
了解です。バトラ卿、当方の手番を所望です。
了解だ。受けて立つぜ。
申し訳ありません。実は指し手の宣言ではありません。実は謝罪です。一つ謝らなければならないことがありまして。
Apologize. Better and Berto's eyes went wide. Hold on. Yowza! That almost pulled my teeth off. Okay, as I was saying, I wonder if she wants to apologize for revealing her kinks when it comes to duct tapes. However, though Erika said that she wanted to apologize, she had a confident look on her face, as though even that apology would be a new move. Yeah, don't you think that I didn't see some kinky fan art stuff on my Discord? Don't you think that I didn't see some of those sent by you viewers on my Discord server? Yeah, Erika surely has her kinks, that's for sure. Although I'm not saying that that my server is like not safe for work or anything like that. That was in clear violation of the rules over there, but I guess so. Beller glared at her dubiously without letting his guard down.
例の遡っての封印についてですが、実はすでに1箇所封印しておりました。それのご報告が遅くなりましたことをお詫びしたいと思います。
すでに封印していた？つまりお前はもうこれで3部屋分を使い切っていたということか。
Yeah. She might have used the last ones on me.
はい。直ちに報告するお約束だったのですが、うっかり失念してここまでゲームを進めてしまいました。心よりお詫びいたします。
心より詫びてる顔には全く見えねえぜ。まあいいさ。俺が許した権利だ。それで、いつ、どこを封印していたって？
ドラノール。
ご報告申し上げます。エリカ卿による死体検視時にバトラの客室を封印しておりましたことをご報告申し上げます。
Balor's guest room. If I'm to go with my previous theory of Erika being the killer, I wonder if Balor is the only one she left alone. Otherwise, why that guest room specifically? Balor tried not to let it show on her face, but Erika didn't miss her eyebrows twitching slightly, and her gaze flicking over to Balor.
本来なら5つの密室すべてに封印を施したかったところなのですが、回数が足りませんでしたので、ゲームマスターのあなたに敬意を表してバトラさんの死体の部屋だけを封印させてもらいました。
ご丁寧に俺の棺桶の蓋を閉じてくれたわけか。
つい先ほど思い出しましたもので、屋敷に到着し、あなたの死体の客室を調べるときにご報告すればいいかと思っていました。しかしこの手紙の登場で急ぎご報告した方がいいと思いまして。
どうしてそう思うのですか？
いいえ、何しろバトラさんは自分の死体の客室が封印されてることを知らずにゲームを進めてたわけですから、それによってひょっとしたらこの登場した手紙、話が変わってくる可能性もあるかな とそう思いまして。
いとこ部屋と隣部屋を封印中です。事後報告で申し訳ないですが、さらにあなたの死体の客室も封印中です。そして島にはエリカ卿を抜いて17人。18人目の存在は過去のゲームですでに否定済みです。
となると手紙を受ける人物とあなたの死体消失、ひょっとして話も変わってくるかなと思いまして。
Erika laughed nastily while staring into Balor's eyes, to see if he was panicked or disturbed.
バトラさん。
落ち着け。エリカの報告が遅くなっただけの話だ。何も焦ることなどない。
Erika had suspected it since the beginning. It was possible that Balor actually hadn't been killed and was still alive. And if he was alive, then the letter that had suddenly appeared was easy to explain, even though all the survivors were sealed up. Judging by Dato's faint agitation, maybe Erika's guess had been right on the mark. Okay. In which case, if we are given this theory, like if we flip it, maybe Balor is truly dead. Like Erika killed him too, but now she is still gonna make us think that Balor is okay. That he is the one who put the letter here. I feel like in similar fashion to last time with the whole everyone thing, Erika is possibly waiting for Balor to say some reds by the end of the game. Him figuring out that he no longer can say those reds like out of surprise because of Erika's behind the scenes actions, that he cannot do that because of Erika. And thus Erika will strike Balor when he least expects it. That's one thing that I'm thinking of here. Balor had played dead and somehow misled Erika's examination. And then, when everyone had holed up in the guest house, he had snuck out of the guest room. He had placed a letter about the disappearance of his own corpse at the entrance to the guest house. And then, he had gone into hiding. If this was the truth, then the seals that had been placed on Balor's guest room at the time of Erika's examination were now very significant. In short, if he had used this trick, then Balor would have broken the seals when he left his guest room. The trick would not be workable without breaking the seals. Since the survivors are all sealed in the guest house, breaking the seal on the guest room would mean acknowledging that at least one of the victims was actually alive. If Balor had known about the seals earlier, it was likely that he would have advanced the game in a very different way to avoid this. In other words, it was very likely that an announcement about the seals would have had a large effect on the rest of Balor's game. Erika was saying, if Balor, playing the part of a corpse, had remained inside the guest room to avoid breaking the seals, then perhaps the plot would not have included this letter. If the truth was that Balor was actually alive and had placed the letter there, then, now that Erika's seals had come into play, there was a chance that he would find a contradiction in his trick somewhere down the line. This sort of contradiction is called a logic error.
ロジックエラー？今回の物語の随分最初の方で聞いた気がするわ。
魔女側が犯してはならぬ最大最悪のミス、反則手だ。
I feel like hold on, wasn't it the gosh, who said that? I feel like I remembered this term before, but it was somewhere around the beginning of the game. I feel like Genji was the one who talked about this. He mentioned something to Bella about this logic error.
あ、思い出したわ。物語の表裏が合わぬこと、矛盾することとか言ってたわね。
伏せたカップの中に飴玉が現れる魔法の話を覚えているか？
ええ。マリアお姉ちゃんとエリカがそれをめぐって論争したわね。あれはお姉ちゃんが目を閉じている間にカップの中にこっそり飴玉を入れるだけの単純な手品だった。
そうだ。その手品の過程を観測していないマリアに結果のみが与えられ、魔法でカップの中に飴玉が現れたとする魔法幻想を受け入れたから魔法が成立した。
そうか、ロジックエラーとは不可能になってしまった手品という意味ね。
Thinking back, the time when Erika and Maria fought firstly about this magic with the red and blue truth, it was really the opening battle of this tale. Let's try to remember that exchange. The heartless conclusion was that it had all been a trick. Making the candy appear in a cup by magic had been nothing more than Bato's claim. Magic can only do things that one can accomplish. In other words, the only results that magic can leave behind are those that can be accomplished without magic. Allow me to say it straight out. There are two general types of magic. If you summon giants and make towers grow from the ground, but when the lid is taken off, nothing has happened in the Rose Garden. That's one type of magic. Man, I miss that. I kind of want more of that. That is just fantasy, an illusion. It's a lie with no observers, taking place only where there is absolutely no anti-magic toxin, to use the words of a witch. Magic that doesn't have to produce a result is the easiest kind, and it is a lie. It is the same as a worthless delusion, a fantasy, a daydream. Even Balor saw through it partway through the third game. And then there is another kind, which we might call true magic. Magic with results. The cup trick is an example of magic with results, because the observer checks and actually confirms the cup is empty. A candy does appear inside the cup, and the observer is actually able to obtain that candy. I have noticed that, unlike the magic of illusions, magic with results must follow one big rule. The rule is that only the unobserved process of what you accomplished can be transformed into magic. I'll say it even more plainly and ruthlessly. In short, all forms of magic are tricks. The only results of magic are things that can be accomplished without magic. Ironically, this also proves that magic doesn't exist. But out of respect for the Witches game, let's call it making the game solvable and fair for a human player.
つまりカップの中の飴玉が今回はエリカの前に現れた謎の手紙ということになっている。これは手品でなくてはならない。それを兄ちゃんは魔女が魔法で手紙をそこに置いたと主張することで結果を伴う魔法にしようとしている。
そうだ。生存者は全員ゲストハウスの密室に封じられている以上、突然に現れたこの手紙は魔女以外に置くことは不可能な不思議な魔法に修飾することができる。しかしそれでもつまりは可能な手品でなくてはならないということだ。
In order to break through the trick with a candy cup and a cup, Erika had countered with a blue truth, saying that the candy had been snuck in there while Maria's eyes were closed. And that was the correct answer. So Maria hadn't had any red that she could use. But what if she had used it? For example, what if Maria had used the red truth at that time to say, until Maria lifted the cup up, the locked room of the overturned cup was preserved.
赤き真実は真実にしか使えないんでしょ。嘘をシャーシャーと言えたら重大なルール違反だわ。
そうだ。自分のトリックを否定する赤き真実は大きなルール違反だ。しかしその赤き真実に抵触しない別のトリックに即座に差し替えられるなら、いささかアンフェアではあるが、その赤き真実は認められる。
この場合はカップの中の密室は維持されていたという赤き真実に矛盾しない手品のトリックを魔女側は即座に提出しなければならないということね。証拠を突きつけられて二転三転させる政治家の言い訳みたいだわ。
So... Okay, let me see if I'm understanding this right. In this case with the letter, Erika would say with blue truth that Balor is alive and exited his guest room to place the letter there. Which, that would be the solution. It would also be considered a red truth as well. But that was made with the idea in mind that the duct tapes were useless. And Balor could exit his room, like, freely. But now that Erika had used her duct tape, a new red truth would appear that the locked room where Balor is was preserved. Like, if we were to go back and look at the locked room, the seal would still be intact in this case, which would contradict with the earlier supposed red truth that Balor exited the room to place the letter. It would contradict with that. Unless Balor finds a way to circumvent that red seal. Unless Balor finds a way to circumvent that seal, there is no way that he can exit the room to do the trick. And yet, the trick was made. I mean, all that I can think of is that this reminds me of using time travel to screw things. Except, what you do in the past, that will never change the future. Even if the past will contradict the future. Like, it makes me think of that.
そうだ。まあその程度の赤ならばまだ苦しい言い訳でも言い逃れられよう。テーブルに仕掛けがあったとか、二重底の手品用カップだったとか。しかしもしあらかじめその可能性についても赤で否定があったならそれも通用しない。赤き真実が多ければ多いほど言い逃れの余地もなくなるわけだ。
In actuality, the candy had been put in the cup while Maria's eyes were closed. However, when Erika saw through that, Maria had used the red truth to say that the locked room of the cup had been preserved. The witch would have to rush and revise the scenario to a new trick that still worked logically after that new red. Revising the scenario is an unfair move that would never be allowed in mysteries. However, the very act of revising the scenario takes place inside the witch's head, which is an unobservable road. Similarly to how an author changes things before they write the scenario. So she could claim that she had been using the trick with a fake bottom cup from the beginning, and no one could deny that. I mean, really, it's similar to fixing plot holes. Not in a movie, but in a serialized thing, like something that goes on for a really long time, and something in the future contradicts with what the rule you established from the beginning. So, even if it really was a trick done while One-chan's eyes were closed, as long as the witch leaves herself a way out, she can even switch between truths, i.e., tricks. Rather than calling this an action allowed to witches, it would probably be better to say that it is only allowed for the game master, the one who creates and writes. But even still, the new trick must not contradict any of the previously stated red truths. Which, if I am to go with what I said, like right now, if I were to go with that, like if that's the case, then Bellor might need to think back on the definition of the room. Something like, I don't know, trying to get the letter in front of the guest house without ever leaving. In which case, yeah, it does sound like the bottom of the cup trick that they're explaining here. If the red truth makes it so that the trick no longer makes logical sense, then there will be a mismatch between the two sides of the story. The illusory result that the game master claims was done by magic, and the true result that was brought about by a trick. There will be a contradiction, and things will no longer make logical sense. We call this a logic error, and that means the destruction of the witch's game.
人間に説明可能なゲームがこの世界。すなわち全ての魔法はトリックでも可能なようになっていなければならない。トリックで不可能だったら人間側は打つ手なしのステイルメイト。
いいや違う。それこそがロジックエラーと呼ぶ致命的かつ最悪の反則手だ。これを魔女側が犯した場合、即座にゲームは破壊され致命的敗北となる。
お兄ちゃんは多分エリカにトリックをカンパされたわ。探偵権限のないエリカは検視ができない。それを理由に死んだふりを続け、こっそり客室を出てゲストハウスの玄関に手紙を置いた。
しかしバトラが許した遡って封印ができるなどとする大甘な配慮により話が狂い出した。
お兄ちゃんのバカ。
まだ現時点では狼狽するほどではあるまい。客室の封印が健在かどうかはまだ赤き真実で確定していない。
Right. Like, maybe in the end, the seals of Balor's room did end up breaking. In which case, well, now that I'm thinking about it, that would still be a loss for Balor. Because if the seal was broken, then Erika can say that Balor did it, with proof of the broken seal. Thus, this particular mystery was solved. I mean, I would rather go with this than have to have the game board destroyed, as if they're like the way they are describing here.
封印を破るも自由。破らぬならバトラ以外が生きてたことにし、手紙を置いた人間を差し替えてもよいだろう。
そうね。お兄ちゃんだけでなくお母さんたちの死体だって赤で死亡は確定していない。実はみんな死んだふりだったってことにしてもまだ全然問題ないわ。
Oh. Uh-oh. I mean... Like, yeah, that would be his escape from this situation. But if I am to think that Erika murdered the other victims herself, then the only one alive is Balor. Holy crap. So, if I'm to think that I'm right, then that must be why Erika murdered them. To have Balor, the game piece Balor, be the only one who could pull this trick, and thus lead us to this contradiction.
そうだ。全くうろたえる段階にない。
But it will be soon enough.
要はエリカの封印と手紙を置くトリックを矛盾させぬよう手を変えればいいだけの話。
矛盾なく他の筋書きに変更するのだってゲームマスターに許された手の一つだわ。
しかし想定したシナリオをその途中で変更することは物語に歪みを与えることもある。まだ第一の番を終えたばかりという段階を思えばあまりに痛恨の一手。どうやら自陣深くに駒を刺されたるはバトラの方だったようだな。この紛れ込んだ一コマはブーツに入り込んだ一粒の小石のように今後一歩一歩歩くたびに違和感と痛みを与え続けることになるだろう。この一粒の小石、バトラを殺すやもしれぬ。
まだロジックエラーと言える段階ではありません。それに遡って封印したのにそれの報告が遅れたこちらにも過失があります。
You do have a point. Like if you reported this earlier, then the trick might not have happened in the first place to avoid the contradiction. You did this on purpose.
ですからこの手紙の登場についてバトラさんも遡って筋書きを書き直してくださっても結構ということです。
遡って書き直すとは
You mean basically have Balor never place the letter to begin with, so that he would stay in his room.
なるほどな。俺がこの手紙を置いたとするなら、俺が密室に封じられた時点でそれは不可能になる。となると、この手紙もここに現れてはいけないことになる。
ですからその小さな矛盾の修正をどうかしてもらえたらと思います。
今私たちはここでこの手紙を発見しました。それをなかったことに、あるいは他の内容にシナリオ変更していただいても結構ということです。
ただ手紙とガムテープがあるだけでフルドエリカにはこの程度の一手が可能です。いかがです皆様方。
Damn. What a dirty move. Well, what else should I expect from Erika? And I also made a promise with Delnor to play an all-out merciless game. Yeah, it's true. I have been planning to make Beller actually be alive. And then to have him slip out of the guest room, resulting in his disappearance and the placement of the letter. However, if I revise the scenario now that my move's been spotted, it will be the same as admitting that it was spotted. Oh. That is indeed a point. If we revise it, that means that Beller is admitting to the real trick being discovered. But if we don't, that means that we have a logic error here. Which, like I said, maybe it's best if we revise it in this case. However, like if we were to do it now and not have the letter be placed there to begin with, maybe this will create another logic error down the road. But not only that, but what if we are to discover that the seal was broken in Beller's room? We are going with the assumption that the seal was never broken, thus creating a contradiction. But what if Erika is fooling us into thinking that the seal is not broken and wanting us to revise the move, when in actuality the seal was broken and there will be no point in revising it to begin with? It would be like a fooling. She would be fooling us, so that the letter would not be placed there anymore, even though there would be like no logic error in that case. Like I don't think that we can. Can we check if the seal is broken? Have us go there and see it ourselves. Nah, hold on a second. Like, if we do, I assume that the logic error will happen, and then it is game over. It is a matter of risk at that point. Whether we see the seal or not. Yeah, either we go forward with the danger of the logic error happening, or we revise it and have a new future disaster happen, accordingly to Erika's plan. Is it getting hot in here in this room or what? Even if I have to be stubborn about it, I don't want to admit that I was seen through here. I don't want to acknowledge a pathetic plot change where I tried to sneak out of the guest room and end up breaking the seal. I want to change over to a different trick, so that the letter will be placed and my corpse will be hidden, while still preserving the seals on the guest room. It doesn't really have to be me who places that letter. I can still revise the logic without contradictions.
しかしバトラさん、手紙は何とか置けても、その後の自分の死体の消失はどうするのですか？客室は密封されています。密室から死体を消すトリックをたった今から用意しなくてはロジックエラーを起こします。
まだ時間はある。 ギリギリまで考える。くそ。
With a painful laugh, Balor unconsciously scratched at his head.
とにかくこの手紙はそのままでいく。はい、すみません。客室が封印されてると矛盾するので、はい変更しますなんて今さら言えるか。一本取られたと認めるのと同じことだ。まるで天井裏に隠れてる忍者の気分だな。蹴取られて槍でぶっすり刺されたのに、痛みに耐えて槍の先の血をこっそり拭い、さもそこにいなかったふりをしてるみたいだぜ。痩せ我慢でいい。ここは痛みを蹴取られたらまずいんだ。
バトラさ
ん。なあベアト、今の俺どんな顔してんだ。きっとかつて俺との応酬で痛いとこ疲れた時にお前が浮かべてたような、ああいう表情を浮かべているんだろうな。くそ。
Bato couldn't think of anything to say. Unless words of comfort would only get in the way of Balor's thinking now. Useless words of comfort would only get in the way of Balor's thinking now.
かつてのお前ならどうする。俺を散々苦しめてきた密室の数々を生み出したかつてのお前なら、どんなトリックで密室から俺の死体を消す。
Bato trembled and groaned. The old her had been an expert at locker room tricks. If only that memory, that power, could revive, she would be able to help Balor. And there's still time to think. There's still time. Nice going, Erika. And that was a dirty move. The entrance to the mansion was locked, but Erika had a master key, so she opened it without any trouble. She had gotten Kraus and the others to take the master keys from the servants, and at the time, she had used a little sleight of hand to pilfer one of them.
さて、最初はどちらから？
Spread out! Take the enemy by surprise! Charlie, Bravo, on my mark! Ready, set, go!
理由に及びません。バトラさんの答えをまずは聞かせてもらおうではありませんか。
Grinning, Erika cut across the entrance hall, passed by the dining hall, and headed deeper and deeper into the mansion, using her skateboard once again. She headed for the guest room Balor had laid dead in. Balor could put off deciding whether the seals would remain intact or not until the moment right before Erika witnessed them. However, once she did witness them, the Game Master would have to show what had happened to them. In the witch's game they were in now, the simple act of going to check the seals on the guest room was an attack.
よろしいですか、バトラ卿。
ああ、お前風に言うとこういざ来たれ。
グッと。
My bones are tingling with suspense.
では、あなたの王子を拝見しましょう。さて、封印は破られているか否か。密室は維持されているか否か。